Hello, my friend and earthly neighbor, and welcome to the final week of what I have coined Rocktober. And this week we have two holidays, one physical, one spiritual. Halloween is coming up, and we have a full moon in Taurus, which will put the final touches on your self-trust. From my smartphone to yours, keep streaming for your weekly Namaste Today. Welcome to Namaste Today, a spiritually provocative way to kickstart your day. I'm your host, spiritual life coach, psychic astrologer, and Sensei to Sirius Joy, Sensei Christopher Witecki. Welcome back, my friend. Namaste. Well, I, for one, am very happy that we are in the sun of Scorpio. I don't know about you, but Libra was pretty tough, mostly because we had Jupiter there multiplying our lessons by 12. But this week, with the sun in Scorpio, it's time to build a new trust in yourself and put the final touches on your personal integrity. So this week, I have a lot for you. First of all, I'm going to talk about what you can expect next week around Halloween and the full moon. Then later in your tea time, I'm going to talk about what the full moon means for each of the 12 signs and rising signs. And I have some special announcements at the end of the show. But first, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. This week's zodiac weather is from Monday, October 30th to Friday, November 3rd, 2017. Looking at your 5-day moodcast. Well, looking at the week at a glance, it's a slow build-up that leads to a full moon. Let's drill down. On Monday, it's cloudy and super spiritual, as Step 7 rules the day, and the moon in Pisces multiplies the psychic activity. On Tuesday, it's sunny and releasing, as Step 8 brings you to some decisions about what it will take for your integrity. On Wednesday, it's sunny with a chance of some anxiety, as we have a double dose of Aries. Step 9 rules the day, and the moon transits Aries himself. And on Thursday, it's sunny and manifesting. You're holding space for your new integrity. And then on Friday, it's sunny with self-healing, as Step 11 brings you into alignment and prepares you for the full moon. This week, it's going to be really the final touches of putting together our inner integrity, a story we have worked on since March. In our next episode this week, I'm going to talk you through the week and talk about that integrity. Taking a sneak peek at the upcoming week, I coined this week, Building My Trust. Now, when I say building trust, this is not a one-week event. In fact, in my opinion, it's taken an entire year for you to come to this new self-trust. It really began about a year ago during the national presidential elections here in the United States when Jupiter moved into Libra, which meant it was time for us to expand our understanding of what fairness and balance was. It was also time for us to grow up about our personal relationships. And our relationships and our sense of balance was really the last piece of consciousness necessary for us to shed off the karma we were born to and move to the story we were born to live. And since then, in the entire year of 2017, what we've mostly done has shed off that old story. I've gone over this before, but I'll do it again. In Pisces, around February to March, if you don't know that transit, that was a time when we came to terms with the fact it was time to move out of our old karmic story. And then in Aries, we started to update our ego and what we aim for. And in Taurus, we started to expand our values to meet this new karmic story. And then in Gemini, we worked on our attitude. Cancer, we cleared out our emotions. In Leo, we set new heartfelt intentions with the Great American Solar Eclipse. In Virgo, we had to audit our reality, and that was a biatch, I have to say. And then we moved into Libra, where we put the final touches on finding our inner harmony and finding harmony with others. That brings us now to the sun in Scorpio. Now that the sun is in Scorpio, Jupiter has met with the sun, which means we are expanding our personal boundaries. And in this entire transit for the sun in Scorpio, what we're doing is setting the final boundary or the final line with us and everyone else. This is the final step before we begin to move forward and approach the real story we were born to live, which will happen in Sagittarius. And in this upcoming week, you are putting the final bricks together to your self-trust. So I'm going to actually walk you through the week and talk about building this self-trust. It ends with a powerful full moon that we have between Friday night and Saturday morning. And this is, in my opinion, the last thing you have to do to build your personal integrity. Woohoo, right? I am so grateful. And if you can't tell, I'm feeling much better already. So on Monday, this is the most spiritual day of the week. On Monday, it's going to be cloudy and overcast. Step 7 rules the day. And the interesting thing about step 7, it's the most psychic step. But when you couple it with the sun in Scorpio, Scorpio is the line between life and death. It creates a very thin veil. So Monday will be one of the most psychic days of the entire year. And to compound it, the moon will actually be in Pisces. That means emotions and heart are both aligned with your psychic state of awareness. You might have some powerful dreams the night before, or you might have some real clear clarity on where you have to draw lines. Now, because we haven't reached step 11 until the end of the week, we're still talking about drawing lines with yourself. You can't draw lines with the world if you're not clear where your own lines are. And on Monday, to add even 100% more boost of your psychic ability, the moon crosses over Neptune during the day. So Monday's a day where your guides will be talking to you. It's time to pay attention to the coincidences, and it's time to put your symbols together. Then on Tuesday, it's sunny and releasing. Now, step 8 will rule the day, which means Tuesday's the day when you finally make that decision to draw that line with yourself. And this is the monumental decision. Since Pluto's at step 17, Capricorn, the decisions you make in this particular Scorpio transit are going to stick like super glue. So Tuesday will not come lightly, but I do think you will be ready for it. And by the end of the day, the moon crosses Chiron, which means you will be able to emotionally release. So out of this entire 2017 year, it's on Tuesday that you actually let go of, finally, and cut the cords to that karmic story you were born to, freeing you up to face the karmic story you were born to live. So Tuesday is powerful and transformative. The other cool thing about Tuesday is old Black Lilith moves to step 29 Sagittarius. Now, that means you will be facing all of your fears one more time. You might have the dragon rear its head again, but it is the last degree that Black Lilith will be in Sagittarius. Black Lilith has been transiting Sagittarius since the end of February. She has about a 9-month transit. And since February, as you were clearing off this old spiritual story, you were also facing the fears of your past lives, your karmic story you were born to, and since she's been in step 20 and above, you've been facing apprehension and fears about moving on to the story you were born to live. So as we make this decision, the timing is amazing with the planets. As soon as you commit to cutting that karmic story, then finally you have your final fears in Sagittarius. By the way, Black Lilith will stay in Sag until November 10th, where she moves into Capricorn, fears around control and decisions, and she'll stay there for 9 months. Then on Wednesday, it's cloudy with a chance of some anxiety. So this is the universe giving you a huge aggressive boost of testosterone male energy to move forward and abandon that karmic story you were born to. But if it's not well managed, it can turn into car accidents, reckless fighting, people bitching at each other, okay? So you want to really channel that energy into exercise if you can, like get some of that nervous energy out, and in moving forward. So Wednesday's the day that you tell somebody sayonara. Wednesday's the day that you sign up for a new program. Wednesday's the day where you actually take the steps. You decide on Tuesday, you take the steps on Wednesday. And the moon will also cross Mars, okay? No, excuse me, not cross Mars, oppose Mars, as Mars is in Libra and the moon is in Aries. So this opposition will be that you'll probably have a little bit of a fear of jumping, okay? So you'll kind of like have self-starter apprehension, but don't worry. I think you'll have the courage, and with the moon in Aries, you're going to emotionally feel like you can do it, but you might feel a little apprehensive. On Thursday, it's sunny and manifesting. So this is the day where you're like, oh God, what have I done? You know what I mean? Like, and you kind of are holding space and hoping you did the right thing. So Thursday's a day where you might have second thoughts, all right, about whatever lines you drew. You might have backlash if you drew lines with other people, okay? And you might even have some, bad dreams or nightmares because you are taking major steps to change your personal karma. And one thing I've noticed about karma is when you step out of it, you always feel this energy tempting you back, okay? So if you feel the devil tempting you back on Thursday, you're on the right path. You should keep forward, you should have trust, and you should move on with the story you were born to live. And then on Friday's actually a pretty powerful day. It's sunny and healing on Friday. The moon moves into Taurus, and the sun is at step 11. Step 11 is integrity. So Friday is the day that if you cut your cords as you're supposed to and followed through with loving and trusting this new path for yourself, Friday's the day where you start to feel everything come together. And Friday night is the full moon. In fact, the full moon happens really early Saturday morning Eastern time, but still Friday night and Pacific time here in the United States. And so if you do any full moon rituals as a person or a spiritual practitioner, you probably want to do it before you go to bed on Friday night. And it's Friday night with this full moon that the universe is actually endorsing, or you could say blessing or Christianing this release of your old cord. So even through Friday night, you have to still hold your integrity about how you're cutting cords and moving forward. But I think by Saturday morning when you wake up, you're feeling fantastic. Now, with that said, I want to dive a little deeper on what this full moon means for you. Go steep yourself some tea, and let's have our weekly tea time. Hello, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. This week's tea time topic is the full moon in Taurus. Now, if you don't know, this full moon is technically, according to the pagans, Halloween. And not only is it Halloween according to pagan tradition, it is also the new year. So back in the day, we did not celebrate Halloween on October 31st. We celebrated it whenever the moon went full in Taurus while the sun was in Scorpio. And this Sun Scorpio full moon Taurus represents the line between life and death. Scorpio in this case is the death, and the sun is our heart. So in this full moon, our heart is putting to death something, and the moon full in Taurus represents the rebirth. So happy Pagan New Year to you, I have to say. Now, as I mentioned in the last segment, it's my opinion that what we're putting to death is our old karmic story we were born to. And this means all the karmic symptoms we've had as a result. So abandonment, loneliness, depression, drug addiction, you name it. We have all been suffering since we were born, and many of us who've been walking in the light or working in the light or both are ready to turn our back on that for good. And the moon in Taurus represents we are emotionally manifesting a new day and moving forward. And as the sun moves into Sagittarius, which will be the next sign, we will finally be ready, baggage-free, karma-free, fat-free, to move into the story we were born to live. So I want to talk about this full moon and talk about some of the ancillary planets and what they're doing. In my opinion, it's cosmic and it's powerful. First of all, the full moon will be at step 11. Step 11 is I become. So this could not be more perfectly aligned by the universe. This is the degree where we come into our personal integrity. And that's what step 11 is. It's a Virgo-ruled step, which means it's going to become real, something we can tangibly feel, see, and point at. So with the sun at step 11, this means that we're going to give death to all the steps before 11 and let go of that karmic reality. We're also going to be creating new boundaries that are based on this step 11 integrity. And then the moon will be in step 11, and the moon, of course, crosses the earth. Many astrologers don't use the earth in their calculations, but I have to say I do. That's because I'm an earth sign, Taurus, ruled by the earth. And so what happens on a full moon, if you don't know, is the moon actually crosses the earth. So our emotions manifest whatever sign the earth is in. And in this particular transit, the earth is in the sign of earth, Taurus. So this means that your life, your earthly experience will be born, and your emotions are very important to what that means. So between Friday and Saturday, it's super important to manage your emotional feel, because what you feel will be what comes. Now, adding some interest to this story, there's a lot of spiritual influence on this full moon. For starters, Mars, which is your ego consciousness, will be at step 7 Libra. That means your ego on the full moon will be aligned to be with your spirit and aligning your spirit to your mirage, the relationship to yourself. That's what the early degrees of Libra is. So the ego is bowing to your spiritual highest good on this full moon, and it's also bowing to yourself. So you are moving forward with creating this new mirage, which is what we worked at for a whole year with Jupiter in Libra. Venus will be at the high 7. She's at step 25 Libra, which means as your ego is bowing to this new mirage, you are opening up to a new spiritual relationship with yourself, the universe, all your friends, all your long-term partnerships, and society. So we have this soul harmonic going on in Libra that aligns all of your relationships to yourself and others with your higher self. So there's a very powerful spiritual degree there. Mercury, which is your mind and your intellect, will be at step 27 Scorpio. So although we are just creating the fundamental integrity of our boundaries in Scorpio, our mind is moving forward with the grand picture, the final shape, what this will transform into. So it's important on the full moon for you to be mindful of where all these boundaries are going to lead to. That would include the boundary between you and other people. That would include the boundary between you and the world. That would include the boundaries between your work and your play. Every boundary you can imagine, you're moving forward at least mentally on this particular full moon as you plow into the integrity at step 11. And I already mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again. This full moon will have Black Lilith at step 29 Sagittarius, which nets to an 11, okay? Which means that you will also, in a very Halloween sort of sake, be coming to terms with all of the fears you have had. This is the final sayonara to all your fears. You may see some of these old fears bubble up between the full moon and November 10th when Black Lilith moves into Capricorn. But I think if you make a very conscious, pronounced step of what your personal integrity is on the full moon, she has no chance of bringing you down. All right? So with that said, I want to talk about exactly what the full moon means for each of the 12 signs. And I've said this before, but it's worth saying again. You probably want to take note of your rising sign as well. And for my contributors, that means your A story and your B story are both important here. All right? And as always, we'll begin with our astrological purebreds, the Aries. Aries, their heart basically is creating exactly what I said. Their heart is creating new boundaries with themselves. And it has to be with yourself right now, Aries. I know you want to make it about the outer world, but this particular full moon is about yourself. That means your self-limits, and when you hold yourself back, you hold your temper back. You know, when you protect your heart instead of your ego, all these new integrity boundaries. So the full moon is putting a final little push on what those boundaries of integrity are. And the moon crossing Earth in Taurus will be manifesting for you new values. So your value and self-esteem will start to go up. And what this suggests is a lot of your self-esteem issues or money-making issues, for those Aries who constantly write me about money, is because you did not have the right boundaries of integrity. So this full moon is a goodbye to non-integrity boundaries and a hello to a new self-esteem and a new self-worth because your boundaries are clean and in shape. Tauruses are coming into integrity with themselves. And I have to say that's absolutely true. I have been crossing every T and dotting every line really since I came here to Denver, which was early in September. So Tauruses are coming into new mirage vows, basically, with their heart. Their heart is making new vows to themselves and vows that will stay put. Now, what this ends up doing is, as the moon crosses Earth in Taurus, these new vows with yourself, Bull, will turn into a new character. So I would say if you know a Taurus out there, watch out. They're about to be new and improved. This is their anti-birthday, and so this is the point where they're coming into the character that they set intentions for back in April, May. Geminis. Geminis are coming into integrity with their health and their lifestyle. And my son is a Gemini, and I have to say, that boy never goes to sleep on time. You know what I mean? But he is now going to sleep because he has a new job, and so his health is a lot better. So Geminis really have been a bit sloppy with where they draw the line. That's because they get caught up in their mind, and they let their life go too far, or they end up on Facebook for 200 hours instead of doing their homework or something. So they're coming into a new health and new integrity with their lifestyle. And if you are a Gemini that's had health problems, this is the turning point, Gemini, okay? okay? You're going to find that things change. Now, what this does is, as the moon crosses Earth in Taurus, this will manifest a new faith in yourself and a new faith in your life. So by drawing lines of integrity in your day-to-day life and health, you manifest faith. And yes, that suggests that the reason why you didn't have faith was because you lacked boundaries in your daily life. Cancers. Cancers I'm excited for, because Cancers have had a real mopey time since I can remember, actually. That's mostly because of Pluto in their 7th house. They haven't been in relationships that they like, and so they've been unhappy. For you, Cancer, it's about drawing lines of integrity with your own heart. And many Cancers I know, it means stop giving so much away, okay? Stop nurturing everyone on the planet before you nurture yourself. So Cancers are returning to their own heart, setting integrity with their own heart and their own inner child. And with the moon crossing Earth in Taurus, this means that by setting this integrity, you will manifest a new place in society. Probably not the caretaker, because you're busy caring for yourself. So it's time for Cancers to succeed in the world, and they can do it because they have integrity with their inner child. Leos. Leos are manifesting integrity with their emotions and their emotional security and self-nurturing. There's been a lot of Leos and Leo risings right here who've been kind of crybabies about how bad life is, and a lot of that has been due to the fact that you haven't had certain boundaries of integrity with the way you manifest your emotions, okay? So this full moon is going to say, let's put down the lines for how to take care of your emotional self, and what this does is manifest a new career and a new legacy direction for the Leos. So this suggests that if you were having career problems, Leo, it was because you had emotional boundary issues. Virgos. Virgos are manifesting something that I am so grateful for. Healthy integrity in their mind, okay? Virgos have always had a knack for overthinking it, going too far, overanalyzing, right? And they end up hurting themselves and emotionally upsetting themselves because their mind is running rampant. So in this full moon, you are setting new lines of integrity in your thoughts, okay? How far your thoughts should go, when your thoughts should stop. And what this does is with the moon crossing Earth in Taurus, this manifests a new belief in yourself. So Virgos who had a hard time believing themselves did so because they lacked boundaries in their intellectual consciousness. There's a point when you say, shut up, and you go to bed, all right? Libras. Libras are investing in new integrity when it comes to their self-esteem. And we can go on and on about this with Libras and Libra risings, but Libras tend to have this habit of giving too much in a relationship, then realizing they gave too much, then snapping back and freaking everyone out they're in a relationship with, and then they're perceived as selfish. It's that teeter-totter, just keeps going back and forth. And what this ends up doing by not having these boundaries of their values and what they really value, it prevents them from having boundaries with other people appropriately. So by understanding what's valuable to you and building some boundaries of consciousness around that value, you're going to, with the moon and Earth coming together, manifest boundaries that work for you in relationships. And a lot of Libras have had hard times with intimacy, and that's because you were lacking these self-worth and abundance boundaries. And this does include with money as well, Libras, but really you have to focus first on your self-worth and your self-esteem and your own personal values before you can focus on abundance. Scorpios, happy birthday, Scorpios. Scorpios are building new integrity around their ego. And this is a big one. Scorpios have been burned pretty hard in this lifetime, especially if you were alive during the 80s and when Pluto went through Scorpio. So Scorpios have had people stab them in the back, go too far. There are some Scorpios who are the ones stabbing others in the back, but I would argue that was because you were stabbed in the back in a past life. So it's kind of always this vicious cycle. So Scorpios have had kind of an over-defensive ego. They've been kind of like dogs that bark too much at the mailman. And this is giving you new boundaries around your ego, where your ego should stop, where your defensiveness should stop. So building integrity around your actions and your character. By building that new boundary structure around your ego, the moon crossing Earth in Taurus means you're going to manifest new marriage vows to yourself. And once you have new marriage vows to yourself, you're going to move on to manifest new relationships based on these vows. So Scorpios are cleaning up their behavior and they're cleaning up their relationships by drawing these boundaries. And I will remind you, Scorpio, from at this point, it's just growth and fortune. Jupiter in Scorpio means once you have these boundaries in place, place, you're going to grow, grow, grow like a vine, okay? Sagittarius. Sagittarius are manifesting something that's very important, which is fearlessness, okay? They're drawing boundaries to protect themselves from self-sabotaging behavior, okay? From fears, from karma, and from subconscious triggers, okay, which is what leads to self-sabotaging behavior. So Sagittarius are building boundaries that will help them build faith. Now, I know that's a tough one to pull off, Sag. You have to stay committed, and you have to stay really connected to your spirit. But here's the thing. Sages, if you don't know, have had extremely messy lives. They're always, late to the party, and then they stay too long, and then they end up spending too much, that sort of thing. And things have been very messy, and a lot of that is due to the fact that you did not have strong boundaries around your faith, all right? So by putting these boundaries of faith, you're going to manifest a daily life that is valuable to you. That's also health. So if Sagittarius is out there or Sag risings are having health issues, it's likely because you had inappropriate or no boundaries whatsoever around to protect yourself from fear and to focus on your faith. So higher faith brings a happy reality for the Sagittariuses. Capricorns. Capricorns are putting new boundaries about where they belong in society, okay? And Capricorns tend to be a little overstated with society. I mean, the typical Capricorn is trying to own the entire world, trying to control the entire mountain, okay? Trying to bite off more than they can chew, basically. And what the universe is saying, no, Capricorn or Cap rising, you just need to put boundaries around your own little house or your fence or your business or what your heart wants the most in society, okay? Now, by putting the boundaries around what your heart wants the most and not being this kind of control energy that is typical with Capricorns, you're going to manifest your personal Sirius joy. You're also going to repair the relationship between you and your inner child. So Capricorns, by drawing their lines in the world, and that does mean that some Capricorns will turn their back on certain friendships, turn their back on certain business investments, you will then manifest genuine happiness with yourself. So what this suggests is you have been unhappy with yourself because you've been too far-reaching in society. Aquariuses are putting some new boundaries up about decision making. And if you know Aquariuses, that's the last thing they want to do. They're like the last one to cast their vote. They're the last one to decide and commit to something. That's because they want to be free and keep all their options open. But the universe is saying, hey, Aquarius, the reason why you haven't been emotionally stable and felt secure was because you were unclear about your decisions and what you will do and won't do in your career. So Aquariuses are making some new boundaries with what they will do and won't do in their career, the decisions they will make or the decisions they're open to. And what this does with the moon crossing the earth in Taurus, it'll build an emotional security in themselves. So they won't be so freaky deaky in their own skin. They're going to feel more grounded. And this really is the beginning of them moving us into the age of Aquarius. This was the turning point. Most Aquariuses I know were not working on the age of Aquarius. They were too caught up with their own issues. But this particular full moon, I think, is where you're going to see a lot of Aquarius stars coming out of the woodwork, okay? And then finally, Pisces. Pisces are building boundaries around their belief structure, okay? And Pisces are kind of controlling around beliefs. They won't say it, but they'll sit there and accept you for who you are and what you believe, but secretly they're very closed about what they believe and don't believe. A lot of Pisces deal with a lot of karma. In fact, that's the most karmic sign there is. So a lot of the beliefs they had were their parents trying to influence them or society trying to control them. So finally, Pisces are going to get it together about what they believe and what they don't believe. That's where they're dropping their step zero on the full moon. And what that's going to do is manifest with the moon crossing Earth a peace of mind. All right, so a lot of Pisces, classic closet alcoholics, that's the joke. Pisces always want to escape. The reason why they often want to escape is because they're so unhappy in their own mind. And what this astrology suggests is you've been unhappy in your own mind because you've been so scattered about what you actually believe in. Clean up the beliefs and your mind will be happy. So I see a lot of potential for Pisces. A lot of Pisces have major stories in their life, and this is the line that will separate the old story from the new story. All right, so as you can hear, this is a very powerful full moon, and in my opinion, this is the last step in 2017 that we have to do to clean up our old karma. Thank Goddess, right? Hallelujah. I myself am very grateful because it's been nothing but work this year, and even for a Taurus to say is a big deal, right? If I say it's too much work, it's too much work. Now, I do want to give you some cool announcements because now that the moon is in Taurus and the earth is in Taurus, I am back and I am focused on what I am doing. The first thing is I want to promote a company that we're working with at Sirius Joy called the Ultimate Vitamin Club. Many of us have malnutrition issues, and a lot of those issues are because we're taking these vitamins that are basically created by chemicals in a lab. So a friend of mine has teamed up with a company that organically grows vitamins, okay? They're organically grown using yeast, and what it does is the vitamins come compounded with kind of like biological metadata, and your body recognizes it as an actual vitamin, and it digests it. In fact, these vitamin doses are much smaller than most vitamin doses because most vitamins just blast you with so many cc's of in hopes that you absorb, one or two. So if you're interested, take a look at it. It's at ultimatevitamin.com/Sirius Joy. You'll learn more about it and see if it works for you. The next thing I want to talk about is my company, Sirius Joy. Right now, I've been pulling back, as you know, so that I can put more content and more features into my Sirius Joy Personal Sensei service. If you're not familiar with the service, it's kind of a private gated community. You have to have your password for HTTPS protected. So part of this is so I can disseminate real information and keep it on my servers. That's one of the things my guides were particular about is there's some information they don't want on YouTube servers. There's some information they don't want on Facebook servers. And so we built our own little powerhouse of protection at SiriusJoy.com. This week on Sirius Joy, I just want to say that I'm releasing the Megascope monthly reports. If you don't know, this is a 10-minute to 15-minute audio presentation that I do for your sun sign and your rising sign. And in this month's Megascopes, I'm going to talk deep about putting these final boundaries up. And then at the end of the month, we're going to really be coaching you about getting on board the story you were born to live. And since I have all of your natal data from your astrology, I can actually speak a little more deeper than you could on any sort of generic astrology site. I can speak deeper to what your chart says your born story was. And of course, I'll be coaching people to get there. I also want to make an announcement as well that next week, not this week, but the following week, I'm doing a special Tea Time series for my contributors on Sirius Joy. And this Tea Time series is called The Human Re-Evolution. And this is the beginning of the really cool data and information that my guides have been giving me, the stuff that I'm supposed to be tight-lipped about. I'm going to start into a 4-part series that begins to prepare you for the human revolution, which in my opinion begins in May of 2018. So you have a full week to sign up if you're not already a subscriber. And even if you can't afford it month after month, you get the first month for $3.99. But most people actually end up staying. It's less than $5 a week, okay? That's less than one Starbucks a week with me being there to help you evolve into your personal story and get on with the story you were born to live. If you want more information, come on down to SiriusJoy.com. And then lastly, I want to invite you down to the greatest club on Facebook. It's called Namaste Today.club. This is a club where if you're a Facebook member, you can join. We do approve every member because we do kind of a psychic gut check to make sure they're not a bot. But it is an awesome club because it's where a lot of light workers and light walkers come together. And I'm different than most of my contemporaries. A lot of my contemporaries don't allow other people to advertise for their products or services in our club. If you have a light walker service, something that benefits humankind, you are more than welcome to post in our club because I believe it's time to unite the light. I believe it's time for us to support one another, and you are free to post at NamasteToday.club. Now, if you don't have to have a service, a lot of people post their personal questions, and the great thing about our group is it's full of all sorts of experts. We have an angel light weaver in the club, we have astrologers in the club, we have people posting cards in the club. So when you post a question or you're in some sort of a dilemma, we always are great to come and comment and give you those answers that you need. A lot of people who go through hard times will post that they need extra prayer, and that's one of the things that we do have going on in the club is some massive prayer. So come on down to NamasteToday.club. It is the place where you want to be if you're in the light. All right, my friends, that wraps up this Halloween episode. I hope you have a safe and happy Halloween. I hope you have an abundant and productive full moon. As always, I'll be back in 1 week with more. Until then, remember, I love you, and to live, love, be.